Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to our international press review. In the papers is what we like to call it, and in the know, Marion Hembust. Marion, I believe there's been elections in France.
There has been elections in France.
Reaction in the papers?
Well, first to the French press and leftist paper Libération. Spring is in the air, according to them, following the socialists doing well overnight in the elections and talking of a time of promise, a time of change. Not the tidal wave they might have expected, but still something they can be proud of with the progress they made in those elections. Now, the paper puts some of this down to a possible joker card that they may well have had, a wild card that did them a bit better in the polls this time, and that joker card apparently was Sarkozy himself, the president of France.
OK, Sarkozy shooting himself in the foot somewhat, is that what they're saying?
Possibly with his private life dramas being all across the press and the sluggish economy, so some voters may well have wanted to punish him in these elections to show they're not too happy with the way he's been carrying on lately.
Certainly reflecting his personal popularity rating, which is in free fall. Certainly it was 67% at one stage, now it's way down.
Yeah, into the late 30s now.
OK, so that was Libération. What other reaction do we have?
Well, the right-wing paper Figaro, surprisingly a bit of a different tone there, pointing out that the socialists did do well, but saying that in fact the right did a lot better than expected as well. There was no sudden comeback. So this is where the football vocabulary all comes in, and talking about the fact that some of Sarkozy's supporters have wanted to show him a yellow card. Just give him a little warning, we're not too happy with the way things are going. And the paper points out that probably they're not going to give him a red card later on in the second round of voting. This is just a warning. And so probably things aren't as bad as they may well look.
So predictably, Figaro, right-wing paper, being very positive from the right perspective. What's next?
Well, looking at the regional press as well, La République from Orléans in centre of France, again picking up on this yellow card, red card business, but also talking about the possible referee in this game of football between left and right, and that's the centrist party, François Bayrou's party, which has nationally not said we're backing or we're forming an alliance with either the left or the right, kept very quiet about that, and left the group to kind of make its own decisions in regional places, in towns and villages. So keeping things very open there and not choosing publicly to back one or the other.
OK, carry on.
Well, it's also an interesting occasion for the American and British press, apparently, these elections. Talking, first of all, from The Guardian, and Sarkozy suffers backlash in elections, the title of an article there. President Sarkozy always in the British press of late, mainly more for his personal life, as we mentioned earlier, more so than politics perhaps sometimes. And so obviously the British, having heard a lot about him, are interested to hear what the French think in his first real electoral test since he was voted in. They talk about a mood of Sarkophobia and saying that many local candidates even removed the UMP party logo from their campaigning because they were worried about the image that might give across.
That's interesting. You didn't get that in Figaro, did you, I suspect? No.
Not there, no.
I'd be really interested to see how Sarkozy would be treated were he to be, say, British Prime Minister, because obviously the British press are a lot less sympathetic towards politicians than they are in this country. And certainly I think over his personal life he may have been actually slaughtered completely by the British press. But anyway, there we go. In the United States then, what are they saying? Yeah,
also about as scathing as the British press, interestingly. Picking out in the WashingtonPost.com internet site the personal escapades of President Sarkozy, which have been in the media.
Of course, Sarkozy, great friend of the Americans, wants to be sort of very close to the States, but still getting slated by the press there.
Some criticism here, yes, and pointing out the fact that he could well be a liability for his party, and also saying, talking about the fact that he divorced his wife soon after coming into power, and apparently they've been doing their calculations at Washington Post. Apparently his marriage to Carla Bruni, the former model, now singer, happened after 80 days of them meeting. So there you go.
You know, you can fall in love quickly, so there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just, I suppose it's a shame that if the man has some kind of great political message, it's being obstructed by personal issues. Anyway, there you go. Those are then the main stories. Marion there with the International Press Review. You're watching France 24. Stay with us.